with playing the national anthems of both Bangladesh and India, written by the great Rabindranath Tagore. We'll begin with Indian national anthem, then Bangladesh national anthem. After that, we have an historic speech made by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman when he arrived in India in 1972 January, exactly 52 years ago. So we will play that also. Then afterwards, we'll start the proceedings. Now the national anthems. Kindly stand up.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जन गण मन
তোমারে খেলা ঘরে শিশুকাল কাটে
Now we'll play Mujibur Rahman's historic speech delivered in Delhi 52 years ago, in which he thanked India for helping Bangladesh.
আপনাদের আমি সাক্ষাৎ করি বাঙালিদের পক্ষ থেকে শুভেচ্ছার বাণী বহন করে নিয়ে এসেছি, কৃতজ্ঞতার বাণী বহন করে নিয়ে এসেছি। আমি আপনাদের যদি কৃতজ্ঞতা জানাতে চেষ্টা করি, অন্যায় করা হবে। পাকিস্তানের নর পশুর দল, পাকিস্তানের সামরিক বাহিনীর দল আমার 7 কোটি মানুষের উপর যে অত্যাচার করেছে, দুনিয়ার ইতিহাসে তার কোন জায়গাতে তা তুলনা হয় না। আজ আমার গ্রামে গ্রামে গৃহহারার আর্তনাদ, আজ আমার গ্রামে গ্রামে সর্বহারার আর্তনাদ, আজ আমার মানুষ পথে ভিখারি, আজ আমার মা বোনদের ইজ্জত নষ্ট করা হয়েছে, আমার ঘর বাড়ি জ্বালিয়ে দিয়েছে। আমার 1 কোটি লোক দেশ ত্যাগ করে ভারতে আশ্রয় নিয়েছিল। সেদিন যদি শ্রীমতী ইন্দিরা গান্ধী, আপনাদের মহান নেতা, ভারতের জনসাধারণ তাদের স্থান না দিত, তাদের খাবার না দিত, তাদের আশ্রয় না দিত, তাদের সান্ত্বনা না দিত, তাদের অবস্থা কি হতো? আমি যদি কৃতজ্ঞতা প্রকাশ করি, তাহলে শ্রীমতী গান্ধী অন্যায় করা হবে। আমি আপনাকে শ্রদ্ধা জানাতে পারি, এর বেশি জানাতে পারি না। আপনাদের এই দান কোনোদিন আমরা শোধ করতে পারবো না। স্বাধীনতা পেয়েছি বড় রক্তের বিনিময়ে পেয়েছি। এত রক্ত কোন জাত, কোন দেশে কোন দিন দেয় নাই যা আমার বাংলাদেশের মানুষ দিয়েছে। আমার লোকেরা জাতি ধর্ম নির্বিশেষে বৃদ্ধ থেকে বালক পর্যন্ত সকলই সংগ্রাম করেছে। সে সংগ্রাম কামিয়াব হতে পারতাম না যে ভারতের জনসাধারণ, ভারতের সরকার, ভারতের সামরিক বাহিনী আর শ্রীমতী গান্ধী নেতৃত্বে এগিয়ে না আসত। আমার দেবার মতো কিছুই নাই, শুধু আমি এইটুকু দিতে পারি। নিঃস্ব আমি, রিক্ত আমি, দেবার কিছু নাই, আছে শুধু ভালোবাসা, দিলাম শুধু তাই। আপনারা জানেন যে 23 বছর পর্যন্ত শতকরা 90 জন লোক আমাদের পশ্চিম পাকিস্তানের থেকে সামরিক বাহিনীতে নেওয়া হতো, বাঙালিদের সামরিক বাহিনীতে নেওয়া হতো না। কারণ বাঙালির হাতে অস্ত্র পাইলে তাদের উপায় ছিল না, তাই বাঙালিকে অস্ত্র দেওয়া নিষেধ ছিল। আর আমি আপনাদের এই আশ্বাস দেবার পারি যে বাংলাদেশ 4টে স্তম্ভের উপর চলবে: জাতীয়তাবাদ, সমাজতন্ত্র, গণতন্ত্র আর ধর্ম নিরপেক্ষ রাষ্ট্র। এর মধ্যে কোনো কিন্তু নাই, এর মধ্যে কেউ হাত লাগাতে পারবে না। এটা সোজাসুজি আমরা করব। আর আপনারা জানেন আমি সোজা মানুষ, সোজা কথা বলি, যা বলি যেটা বুঝি সেটা বলি এবং সেটা করি। এর মধ্যে আমি ভয় করি না কাউকে করব। আমার মানুষ বড় সোনার মানুষ, সোনার বাংলা, সত্যি সোনার বাংলা। তাই আমরা আমাদের জাতীয় সংগীত করেছি, সোনার বাংলা তোমায় বড় ভালোবাসি। তাই আমি আপনাদের সকলকে আবার আন্তরিক ধন্যবাদ জানিয়ে বিদায়ের বাসনা বলে যাই, আমাদের বন্ধুত্ব অটুট এবং অক্ষয় থাকবে। আপনারা আমার সঙ্গে স্লোগান দেন, জয় বাংলা, জয় বাংলা।
জনসভা শেষে উভয় প্রধানমন্ত্রী ব্রিগেড প্যারেড গ্রাউন্ড ত্যাগ করলেন।
We are delighted to have with us Mr. Pinakranjan Chakraborty. He was our High Commissioner in Dhaka, and is also author of this book. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Chakravarti. We have several people joining us from different parts of the world. There is Mr. Omar Salim Shero. He is joining us from Dhaka.
No, Toronto.
Oh, Toronto, I beg your pardon. And then
Ontario.
Ontario. Then Urmi Mazar from London.
He will join soon.
He will join from there. And then Mohsin, Advocate Muhammad Mohsin Rashid, advocate from Dhaka. Then a member of parliament from Nepal, Mr. Hari Charan Shah. And then Shubir Bhaumik is an expert on Bangladesh and works for the BBC from Kolkata. And then we have with us Gautam Lahiri, is president of the Press Club of India. Can we start this by inviting the lady from London to recite what she has written about?
She will come online after 1 hour.
After 1 hour. Oh, okay, all right.
Suddenly she has a meeting there.
Okay, all right. Then let us begin the meeting by inviting Pinag Babu to speak about the situation in Bangladesh, how is it has changed since he was the High Commissioner there, and what is the way forward, what India should do about what is going on there. Mr. Chakravarti.
Well, sorry for the delay and delighted to be here. Thank you, Venkat, for having me in this distinguished panel. When I think of look at what has happened in Bangladesh 4 months ago, August 5, it was, I think. I am actually reminded of what happened in 2007 January, which was an event which happened about a week after I had joined there as a High Commissioner. And it came to be called, they also called it some 111 or something like that. I think it was called 111, which basically meant that it was the 11th of January, and I had joined there on the 7th of January. That we had what is now today called, you can say a semi-coup d'etat, because there was a caretaker government in place as per the constitution of that time. But what happened was that the scheme laid down in the caretaker system didn't work out well because the two sides, that is the two major opposition groups, had to agree. And they couldn't. So the last resort was make the president, the caretaker head of government as well, apart from being the head of state. And then they packed that caretaker government. This I'm talking about the BNP Jamaat government, which was leaving office. And they packed them with their own people, etc., which naturally upset the other groups, particularly the Awami League and others. And then there was absolute chaos. I mean, you couldn't go out. The streets were always full of these BNP and Awami League, cadres fighting each other. There were bands and hartals. Once this chaos reached, I suppose, a point where the army then decided to move in. And they went and to the president's house and made him also sign some documents, etc., dismissing the caretaker government. And then they formed another caretaker government in which they brought in somebody like Dr. Fakhruddin Ahmed, the very famous economist who was head of their Reserve Bank or the central bank, also who had worked in the World Bank. He became the new caretaker, what Yunus is occupying today. Now, there is that's how the army back, and the army was really backing this kind of a government there. And they stayed on for almost, the caretaker system usually was mandated to stay for only 3 months and then organize the election and hand it over to the party that wins the election. Now, but they stayed on for 2 years and they did a good election. They revised the voters list, etc. I was there and I was involved in the watching in all these things happen. And then you had the new government come in, which was Sheikh Hasina. And she came with a very large majority, I think almost 2/3 majority. And since then, she's been in power till she was, which is almost 15 years. It's quite, incredible to find that somebody could stay in power for 15 years. In Bangladesh, given its history of both, I mean, in its democratic history, there's always been alternate, once BNP, once Awami League. Before that, of course, there were military governments and there were many. So I would say that, am I surprised by what happened in Bangladesh? I would say no, in the sense that Bangladesh has seen this kind of upheavals many times in the past. I have in my book talked about the various upheavals since 1971 and mainly divided into, I think, 6 phases. So this is probably the 7th phase, the new one, in which Bangladesh has gone into, again, a political spin. And we have this government. The difference between the caretaker system that was there and which was expunged from the constitution, I think in 2011 or something. It was removed from the constitution and then it was decided that elections will be held under the government which is in power, but in a more moderated manner. So what do you call this government? I mean, why it happened, etc. I think we all know why it happened. Basically, the platform was the students' movement, which, by the way, had begun in 2012, the initial movement, which was like to remove the quotas in the government jobs, like a reservation. It's very similar to that. The quotas slowly had grown to almost 56%. And this was for the freedom fighters and it initially began for the freedom fighters. Then it was amended, the law, and it went to their children. And now I suppose the grandchildren were also benefiting from it. It was a system of political patronage, basically, which was resented by the others who could not be. The government actually, I was told that many people who were not even freedom fighters were made freedom fighters to get this benefit and things like that. So it was a system that was misused so that you could distribute patronage, and these people were basically supporters of the whoever was in power, basically, and in this case the Awami League. So this was going on for some time till 2018 that the Hasina government decided that they will do away with this. They will agree to scrap all the quotas, which they did through government order, I think. But then I think some people who were benefiting from it said, we have to challenge this. They went to High Court. High Court annulled the government order. So it was back to status quo. And again, the agitation started. And then they went to Supreme Court. The government said, okay, wait, hang on, we will go to Supreme Court, which of course annulled all the High Court decision and reduced all the quotas to about 5% or so, 5 or 7%. So that was the situation when actually the agitation was called off for at least 48 hours. But by then, I think about 200-300 people had been killed in the agitation. Then suddenly, there was a 9-point demand raised by the students. And then again, violence broke out because they wanted resignation of ministers, all kinds of things, which of course the government was unwilling to accept. Then again, it sort of was rekindled. Now, I have always wondered why it was rekindled, and I've studied that issue. And I also felt that the students' movement after that time passed on to the hands of basically the political opposition, their students and their cadres. and slowly morphed into what I would today call a regime change operation. This seems pretty clear. It has come out even in American journals and portal. If you want to read it, there's a portal called Gray Zone, where they have given a fairly long article of how it was done. These things are never done directly, so these things are done through various organizations, etc. And in this case, that organization which was coordinating some of these activities is called the International Republican Institute, IRI, which is well known for promotion of democracy, human rights, etc., but is well embedded in the what we generally call the American deep state. So there are indications that they were also part of this, and apart from others, non-domestic actors, the opposition, etc. And they got some help, I think, from both from abroad, some help. If you read that article, you will know how it was what kind of actors were used to increase the thing. There was another incident which happened after that when the first member who was a general, I think it was Brigadier Shakawat, was appointed as the home advisor, I think. He said something that he's expressed surprise that how come the police was being blamed for all the killings, many of the killings, because he said many of these people, post-mortem report says they died of bullets, 7.62 bullets, which is mainly not used by the police. He said this is never used by the police in Bangladesh. It's actually it's a military grade bullet. So then he was immediately removed, by the way, the next day, and he became something else. I don't know, some advisor. So that created another issue. So people started asking then who was firing this 7.62? Again, it sort of merges into the conspiracy theory, etc., that who was supplying these arms to some people? Were there mercenaries present who were shooting at the demonstrators to keep the pot boiling, basically? More people died, more anger was created. That's how it happened. And finally, the day came when the whole country was marching towards, well, they had organized the whole towards Dhaka. And then I would say the final actor in this whole process was the Bangladeshi army, because they refused basically to help the government and said, and then told Hasina, we can't help you, and you might be killed if all these people come and gharaw your home, and it's best that you leave. So that's how she left. And you've seen pictures reminded me of the Sri Lankan episode when the president's house was, so you've seen all those pictures. So that is how it happened. Now we have a government led by Professor Yunus, well-known Nobel laureate, etc. But there is always, he's supposed to be the pioneer of microcredit, for which, but he was also under some kind of criticism for charging very high rates of interest. In fact, Hasina used to call him Shudkhor. Shudkhor is Shud is interest. Now, as you know, taking interest in Islam is prohibited. So there were some of these thing, and Hasina, of course, again, I must say that during that time, that when I was there was also this -2 concept promoted by the army and various people. -2 meant let's kick out these 2 women who are the leaders. They were called the warring begums and whatever, and we can have a different political landscape, because they can never get along. They can never agree to anything, except when they fought against Hasina and Ershad to bring in democracy. But then this was another one of those, I would say, typical knee-jerk kind of a reaction of an institution like the army, which is ill sort of place to govern any country, in my view, and particularly. But then army's role in Bangladesh. Uh, well, I don't want to say there are similarities, but that they have intervened in politics. I mean, several times, and so they have that DNA, so to speak, that if everything goes wrong, then only we are there to sort of save the country. So that what minus two didn't work. But what happened was that the army promoted Professor Yunus to form a party. They thought that we will re-engineer the politics of this country, perhaps to encourage Professor Yunus into a political role. I was there. I met him many times, and so I asked him, "Why are you getting into this? You are not the kind of person. You're not a professional politician, you know." So he said, "No, there are various reasons. The country needs, a stable, He gave me a lot of reasons for it. Of course, it didn't work out finally. It's all there in the book. If you kindly read it, it would be very nice. You will get the whole background, and including the role I played during that time. It's there. So anyway, I won't waste time on that, but let's get to the present, which is like, so you have an interim government. Professor Yunus is well known to be very close to the Americans. I mean, there's no secret. I mean, everybody knows it. He's a great friend of the Clintons and the Obamas. And, when he went there, he immediately went to the Clinton Foundation to give a speech. So we all know this. I mean, this is no secret. He also contributed to the campaign of the Clintons and the Obamas. So basically, he's clued into the Democratic Party. And he was obviously I suppose, the choice which the Americans had made in 2007 as well, when they were promoting him and his party. So this time also it was logical that they would focus on him too. Anyway, that has all happened, and you have this very motley group, all kinds of people in this interim government, some generals, some students now, the leaders, and then, of course, some Islamist, like what is it called? Hafazat, I think. Hafazatul Islam, Jamaat-e-Islam, and all these people are there. Hizbut Tahrir, all these people are connected to this. People in this advisory, whatever cabinet, call it whatever you like, are connected to many of these Islamist parties. Now, as you know, Hasina had taken a very strong stand against the Islamists. And she... What's this? Sorry.
It is coming from there.
No, it was some other. Anyway, so whatever it is, it's a group which was formed as an emergency kind of situation. But how to make it legitimate, or how to because it is not a legitimate government in the sense that it has no status in the constitution. So what they did was they got the president to make a reference to the Supreme Court. By the way, all the judges were forced to quit, almost at gunpoint, call it, and new judges have been appointed who are obviously, friends of the new government, and they gave a judgment saying that it's okay, this government can be regularized or legitimized, etc. So that's how they were trying to make sure that their legitimacy is not questioned. But then that question will remain as to... I think yesterday, Professor Yunus gave a speech, which was like Victory Day speech, saying that he's planning to have elections end of 2025 or early 2026, after all the reforms are done and voters list are prepared, new ones, etc., etc. So that's the thing. Now the question is about 10 commissions on reforming various things, judiciary, election process, all kinds of things, education. Now, what is the status of these reforms? Nobody knows really. But what they are basically doing is to, there was a committee which went into, siphoning of funds, and they came up with this magical figure of $250 billion that have been siphoned out by the Awami League, their business cronies, etc., etc. So that's the kind of thing that is happening. In a sense, what I believe is happening is that the BNP and the Jamaatis and the Islamists have been empowered in the sense that they feel they are now, almost running the country. And the Awami League has, of course, been hounded and killed, many people killed, many people have fled. So they have been, the Awami League is on the run, you can say. They are slowly being decimated. Then, of course, the minority community has been hit very hard, the Hindus and the tribals in the, which they tried to dodge and duck, saying, no, this is not communal, but it is. Professor Yunus himself tried to say that. But then slowly, how much can you hide? I mean, in today's world, the social media is so strong that everything leaks out immediately, any incident of this nature. So I think the government has finally come around to admit that there have been 88 communal incidents. Now, where they came up with that figure, I don't know. But the organization which represent the minorities, called the Hindu Buddha Christian Oikko Parishad, the HBCOP, they have documented about more than 4,000. Sorry. Yeah. So on that score, I think passions have, arose in India also because of feelings, etc. And you had various incidents, but during those chaotic days after the Hasina's removal, our visa offices were attacked. Our Indian Cultural Center was attacked, looted, and burned down, and no regret was ever came from any source in Bangladesh.
65,000 books in the
Yeah, I know. I set up that institute, the cultural center, our cultural center. We had a separate library, so I moved everything into one place. So they burnt the whole place down, looted it. So sometimes I feel that they felt it was all legitimate, because there was a reaction to years of, as they call, fascist and autocratic rule, etc., etc. So that was also, I think Professor Yunus also in some ways tried to say, look, these things will happen because of what happened. The mood for revenge is very much there. And this retribution that is taking place is perhaps maybe a cleansing effect or something on the society and politics. I doubt it will have a cleansing effect, but it will certainly leave a lot of bitterness. And how Bangladesh comes out of it is something that we have to think about and ponder. As far as India is concerned, I think we have decided to have a very low-level engagement with this government. There was a meeting in New York between the foreign ministers, on their side, the foreign advisor, who I know very well because he used to be the foreign secretary when I was there. And they agreed they had some discussion, then they said, okay, look, let's engage. So foreign secretary level talks were due. So we thought, okay, this is a good platform to engage. So our foreign secretary went there. But otherwise, I don't think there's been a very high level engagement. We wish to, I think the government's desire seems to be to remain engaged, which we have done with all governments in Dhaka, whether they were dictators or whether they were Democrats. But I suspect it will not be scaled up to a very high level, and we'll have to wait for an elected government. I think that decision seems to be that we will not engage fully with this government because it's a temporary government, and so we'll wait for election. So that is the situation that India is looking at it. What are the dangers? Dangers are that there's security, there's the empowerment of the Islamists could lead to so many things, that we have seen in the past, including a rise in, shall we say, terror activities, or trying to do various things across the border into India, where their networks are always there, as you know. And it has happened in Bardhaman, for example. These guys, the JMB, which is one of those organizations, and this terrorist organizations, which was banned and all that. So that is the current story, in the sense that economically, I think Bangladesh is not in a very happy position because of, firstly, that, of course, the blame to the fact that so much money has been taken out. The foreign exchange reserves have plummeted. It reached a high of $48 billion. Today, I think it was, last I saw, was about 18 or 19. So they had to go to IMF. They asked China also for a loan. And it's going to, I don't know how they will. And you see, something that has never happened before is that this time the garment factories were also attacked. Now, the garment factories are the backbone of Bangladesh's exports, 80% almost. Bangladesh became a very successful garment exporter. I think second in the world or something. But then this time they were also attacked. Why, I don't know. Maybe it was because the businessmen and others who control were seen to be in cahoots with the Awami League. Or, I mean, businessmen will go with anybody who's in power, so that is normal. But then they were seen as, and I think most of these attacks that have taken place on various people or something are by the BNP cadres, by some Jamaatis, the Hizbut, the Hifazat. Hifazat is probably more aggressive than the Jamaatis, I think, and some other Islamist groups who have all joined hands now. So that is the situation, and the other worrying thing is that many of the institutions, national institutions, schools, colleges, and all, many of their headmasters or VCs and various people have been basically kicked out, at gunpoint almost, forced to sign a resignation letter. And again, those positions are being filled by these guys, the Islamists and others. So that's the kind of takeover that has taken place of institutions as well. Now, that is the situation. Now, once elections are held, then there is also some internal, what shall we say, tussle as to whether you must have elections now. I think Yunus came under a lot of pressure to have elections earlier. Maybe that was not the intention. They said 5-6 years in the beginning. But I think there was a lot of pressure, not just from the BNP and others who wanted, the political parties wanted elections. The student leaders in their Jamaatis and all that, I don't know whether they wanted early elections, but it seems that they probably wanted more time to organize or reorganize or whatever. I think some international pressure has also been applied to the interim government to speed up the elections because, bring back democracy, so to speak. So that is the position at the moment. India has not opened its visa office fully. We have skeletal staff because the High Commission, there was a danger of High Commission being attacked and etc. So we pulled out most of our staff and families who were doing this. So we had no choice because the security disappeared. All the police security, which was generally provided to the embassies and high commissions, they just melted away during those days. And once this upheaval took place. And so there is a problem now. Visa in this foreign secretary's meeting, they requested that please, reopen everything and all that. Visas are important because Bangladeshis are the largest number of foreigners who visit India. 1.6 million was the figure that I last noted for all kinds of things, and so that creates a problem for many of them who have families here or who are doing, come for medical treatment. A lot of them come for medical, and so that's a problem. So then again, the issue of normal trade, we have not hindered anything. Trade is going along normally after the initial closure and things like that. We have said that we will get back to normal trade, which I hope is normal enough, but couldn't be normal of that time. Bangladesh was an important trading partner of India, almost 18 billion annual at the maximum. Then, of course, it came down during COVID, and the Ukraine war also affected the many of the sectors. And finally, I think the issue of electricity had come up with some of the projects that India was doing, whether those projects will go ahead or not. The interim government wants to review everything, all projects. They want to review all agreements. They've cancelled a few agreements, like in the cyber area, where there were plans of cyber transit and things like that. So they may cancel some more agreements, or we can live with that. We don't have a problem. And but then they have to decide, the kind of relationship they want to rebuild. Now, the allegation against India is that, why did you support Sheikh Hasina? Sometimes I wonder, if this Sheikh Hasina is the prime minister, we have to work with that government. No, but they think, no, we supported her in her whatever action she took domestically. I'm afraid that is far from the truth. Nations in general in international relations don't cultivate a country or don't deal with the country and because they want friendship. They want to pursue their interests. That is the sine qua non of international relations. I mean, you may be a friend, we have soft power, you may like our soft power or not, etc. But ultimately, what is it that serves my interest is how nations really operate. Now, we had a good relationship with Bangladesh. We had done so many projects with them in railways and all kinds of things. These are, I think, all now not operating. I don't know whether the railways have started or the buses have started. So, and it's basically hurting the Bangladeshi people, because they are the ones who were, I know I've been there. I started this first bus, in 1999, the Kolkata-Dhaka bus service. I was there. Prime Minister Vajpayee had gone to inaugurate it from there. So we started building all this, for a long time. Today, it's all destroyed. I mean, destroyed means that it can start again, but it's not operating many of these things. And it's hurting the people, basically. Now, this anti-India mood that is very prevalent now is leading to these kind of things. Though I don't suppose, why do you stop the train? Or why do you stop the bus? These are being used by... But, there is this thing about, there's a lot of emotion and sentimental kind of anger that I find, all kinds of tweets and things like that. Okay, I think they're very angry, so let it settle down, then we will do business again. So that's the mood. That's the general situation. I'll stop.
Thank you very much. Welcome to our friends from Kathmandu, Dhaka, Nepal. We have who would like to speak now? Kindly raise your hand so that the floor will be yours. Yeah, Omar Salim Sheikh, please go ahead. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm a professor of economics and business and social sciences in Canada, Ottawa. Good morning from this chilly winter morning. His Excellency Pinaki Ranjan Babu has summarized and given an excellent synopsis of the current situation and little background what happened. Uh, I would not go into the history, as Bangabandhu's speech we have all learned. We had a excellent relationship with India, not only uh, during the regime of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, but also before, from since 1971. As a former BLF member and the freedom fighter myself, I would say thanks to India for the generosity they had shown us, trained us, and also uh, allowed 1 crore people
Yeah.
and feed them, watered them, and sheltered them. That is, the generosity goes without saying, and we will be grateful to them throughout as long as we live in our soil of Bengal or Bangladesh. Now, cut short the history. During the Hasina regime, the relationship to India, or the title of today's discussion, Bangladesh-India relationship, has gone to a level of uh, diplomatic level as well as participation level to a maximum height. It did not even reach at that level during the regime of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. But unfortunately, he was killed with his family, except the 2 daughters, in 1975, 15th August. And after that, the military government, then the democratic government, as alluded by His Excellency, and we have. No, I'm not going to repeat that. So we have seen that how the government transformed. The government that came into power by means of proper election in 2008 has surpassed all other governments in the history of Bangladesh. It went to a trajectory of level of economic development which has surpassed most of the South Asian countries. Even in certain social indicators and economic indicators, it has surpassed our friend India. Okay, and unfortunately, I won't say that there's a semi coup or the semi coup had happened, but it is not the coup. It is military betrayed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. What happened basically? Dr. Yunus took over a Jongi uprising. A militant uprising had happened. It was never happens to be like that. And if I go a short synopsis of the history, I would say that this is not designed within 36 days or in a couple of days. It was not a quota movement at all. As for my research says, as Mr. His Excellency has already alluded to the deep state, it is a deep state involvement that is being worked out from the US State Department guidebook that is being worked out on the countries which always goes on the above the economic development. It not only happened in Bangladesh, it happened in Iraq, it happened in Libya, it happened in Venezuela, it happened in a lot of other countries. Even recently it happened in Syria. Now, the guidebook of the State Department of the deep state involvement within this uprising governments, like Bangladesh going to the middle income level, they had a policy to first to do using a local agenda and a local issue to make it agitation and go above the beyond the anything else, so that they can create chaos among that. So the government has no other option but to resort to action and forcible action like military action or police actions. Unfortunately, the police force this time in the Bangladesh students uprising on the so-called quota, or it's not a quota movement, did not apply that much force. It is within the students or those who are the retired armed officers, juniors, that has been Hasina government has forced them to retire. They are the one who brought the 7.62 bullets with their sniper rifles and shot hundreds of people. But it went, and after that we have seen the 3,000 police has been already been killed. It has been reported in the UN report too. And also after 5th August, there are innumerable or thousands of people died due to the mobocracy, or I call it as the mob city, is a mob who took over, and Yunus government failed miserably to control that. Coming back to the deep state theory, the idea of the deep state theory is to change the name of the government, or it was trying to do that. This Jamaat, Hifazat, Hizbut Tahrir, and BNP together, they want to change the name of the country. It did not happen. They want to change the flag of the country. They want to change the constitution of the country. And they finally also attacked on the national anthem of the country. Okay, so those are the ones. So what I see are my politics within government within the Bangladesh with the Awami League and the non-Awami Leaguers. There are two parties in Bangladesh: Awami League and anti-Awami League. Period. And those are the Islamist parties and most of the Jungis. So as a result, what I observed is basically that they wanted to create a situation like Syria or Libya or Iraq. And whether we'll stay in Bangladesh or not, that is not the question. We'll be staying that. But in the name of full democracy or Islamic revolution, both are the trap, because the trap is what? The trap is to put the country back to the poverty level. The Hasina regime, the poverty level has been reduced substantially from 40% to 20%. And most less unfortunate poverty or the poor has been reduced to 5%. Unfortunately, that has been increased substantially for the last 4 months now. Now, what is the theory behind the State Department or the policy guide that the State Department gives to these countries? Is very clear, which is also true for Bangladesh at the current moment, is what we call it in social science. Most of you know that over here, dependency theory. The colonialism, the British colonial has left the countries, but they transferred this to US dependency theory. The dependency theory, which was, I don't remember the name of the professor who developed this theory, that theory is being implemented often in this deep state policy of the United States. And these are the nothing but depends on the IMF, World Bank, US aid, and UK aid, and European aid. So that all these countries all depends. The Yunus Grameen Bank, and His Excellency has already alluded about the interest sucker, as Hasina used to call him, his high interest rate, is obviously want to bring the people to a poverty level that will always remain in poverty. We should not go up. That is one of the criteria that will hopefully will try to recover that. Now, the question arises, what happens now? I want to mention two important names here who are no more in this world. One is Mr. Saifuddin Khan, and one is Mahmoud Khan, who are the language movement heroes and later on fought for the country. And they have a huge contribution into the development of the country along with other political leaders who work with side by side with Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. At this point, I would say how we can recover from this. We know the relationship with India was very in a good position. The visa position was very eased out, but has been stopped now. That fugitive accused of murderers are being returned to Bangladesh. That is also being stopped now. Then electricity that is being diverted from Tripura to Dhaka has been also stopped. And our High Commissioner of India has already expressed the concern about the stoppage of the communication system like Maitri Express and Dhaka and Goroda and Shillong, all those, and also ferry food. All those things have been stopped now. Now, who is suffering? Suffering is the general public of the two countries. It's not the government. Government to government relation is always there, as His Excellency has pointed out that there is a low level of contact. Yes, it happens. It is never person to person rather than government to government. And it also, I would say that there is allegation in a recent white paper of economic performance as commissioned by the Yunus gang, which I call it as the yellow paper or the black paper. Rather, I call it yellow paper in a sense. None has been given in that white economic justification that what happened. The economy was in running good. As I mentioned before, the trajectory of development was going so high that we moved from takeoff stage to the development stage. And that has gone down since 5th August and is going down. The growth rate has come down from 6.68 to 4%. Reserves has come down less than $18 billion. Exports has come down and imports has been reduced substantially. The garments export has been reduced 60%. Production, most important thing. If there is no production in a country, no country can survive, no country go forward. The production has been reduced in almost all industries, small industries. These mob cities or the mobocracy that happens, particularly the BNP goons and Jamaat, those are the goons that are attacking, not even their armed leaders. They go and attack other businessmen and demanding lump sum ransoms. And the ransoms they're asking, or the Chadabaji in Bangla, if I call it, they're asking, it was almost extremist, it was gone in during the Army League period. It was not there. And 15 years is very short period of time for development to a country like this. And country like Bangladesh, although we believe in democracy, as mentioned by our father of nation, that the 4 pillars is one of them. Pillar is a democracy and social system, the socialism, and the other 2 are there also, nationalism, and we are also tolerance to all religions. But all of these 4 pillars has been swindled now, has not been in a position that anyone can say that India's government is doing to keep uphold these 4 principles. Obviously, in economic conditions, we are in a very bad shape. I do not know how to recover it. Now, what Awami League can do to recover this? First, according to our great leader, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who said that several times in several meetings, I have written a couple of books on him and his speeches. My research says that self-criticism, we actually forgot. When we are in power, we always forget that we have some lackings. We have some mistakes. I admit openly, candidly, that we made some serious errors in judgment, in dealings, in actions, and in implementation. So otherwise, today we would not have seen the uprising of these Islamist jungis or Islamist militants that has been taken over right now. And I'm almost mid-70s now, and I'm trying to see that I won't live that long. People are saying that in your lifetime you may not see back to the real secular country that we had it before, that one of the pillars that we have built together. But looks like this Taliban style of government is coming soon in our soil that is not given to us by anybody. It was snatched from the Pakistanis with our blood and toil. Our price is very high. We've given up a lot of blood to do that. Okay, I have got all our personal histories and all our personal stories to tell, but there's no time not in this forum. But we keep telling that. And on the verge of this 16th December that we are celebrating that victory day, that we have thrown out this economic disparity people of Pakistanis. And again, what we see this 16th December 2024 in a different perspectives. The perspective is that we are seeing in a disguise or the ghost of Pakistanis crawling gradually as into the system and trying to restore two-nation theory of 1947, which I detest. When I was very young, I was 8 years old in 1958 or 57. At that time, I used to say, why I have to speak Urdu when my mother tongue is Bengali? Why I have to do that? So from that time onward, I know that I got involved in 1966 with the Army League or the Chhatru League at that time in the politics, as I know that from that time onward, we have to be separate. So obviously, Bangabandhu led us without any argument or anything. No one can argue on that he led us to a freedom fight. Under his leadership, we fought, although Tajuddin and other people gave us the directions. And Indira Gandhi, the famous Iron Lady of India, has strongly stood against this Pakistani regime to support us. We salute her always. I salute her myself always to her, that without her intervention, we would not be able to recover Bangladesh so quickly in 9 months. We would be fighting in the trains, in the fighting within the waters, taking the boats and launches and taking stain guns and the trainings, but that would have been a longer period of time. Vietnam took a long time to got independence. So we would have been done without the help of Mrs. Gandhi and our General Aurora's team. We salute them today on 16 December. I remember all of those people because I know we entered sometime in 17 December to Dhaka. I was close on 16 December, close to Dhaka at that time. We were coming back from the other operations. So we know that what are the support that we got at that time. Those of our generation and knows very well, but I admit candidly here that we failed to inculcate to our next generation or the generations that was not involved to that, particularly during the 15 or 16 years of Army League regime. Those students who were 10 or 12 years old and 15 plus 16 became the 26 to 28 years old. So those people were not inculcated about the essence of Bangladesh or the struggle of Bangladesh. That's what we see today, that being the Islamist people are taking over all over Bangladesh. And what will be the relation with India in this case? As His Excellency has alluded already or has said that it will create a low level of interaction. That's very true, no problem. But what I see, the gradual insurgency among the borders area, and it might so happen that the dependency theory that I said a few minutes ago would allow these people to go further to attack parts of India. And already some people have declared that we'll take the Seven Sisters. I don't know.
Kindly conclude, Mr. Shero.
What is the audacity
Kindly
of
conclude.
that? Okay. So,
Kindly, there are other speakers, so please conclude. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll cut short in a minute. Pardon me?
I'm saying finish your.
Yeah, I'll finish very quickly. So what we see that this insurgency will creep. So India has to be very careful what we do. So we'll keep our relations with India as good as possible, and we'll try to see that we stay together. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu. Joy.
Thank you very much.
India, Bangladesh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shero, for your comment. May I now invite Urmi Mazar from London. She is senior ATN Bangla presenter. Urmi Mazar.
Thank you. I'm going to recite a poem written on the freedom fighters. It's called Ora Tirish Lokho. I hope that you, audience here and guests here, will understand Bengali, and it's a very rich poem on our freedom fighters, and especially dedicated to the Victory Day. I'll start. Ora Tirish Lokho. ওরা বাঙালির ৩০ লক্ষ গর্বের ধন, বাঙালির আত্মপরিচয়ের নির্মাতা, যাদের জীবনে পেয়েছে বাঙালি লাল সবুজের পতাকা, যাদের এক সাগর রক্তের বিনিময়ে পেয়েছে বাঙালি স্বোপার্জিত স্বাধীনতা। ওরা কারা? ওরা ৩০ লক্ষ কাজী নজরুলের মহাপ্রলয়ের নটরাজ, ওরা সাইক্লোন, ওরা ধ্বংস, ওরা দুর্বার, ওরা ভেঙে করে সব চুরমার, ওরা মহাবিদ্রোহী রণক্লান্ত। ওরা কারা? ওরা ৩০ লক্ষ, ওরা বীর, ওরা লড়াকু, বাঙালির সর্বকালের সর্বশ্রেষ্ঠ সন্তান ওরা। রবীন্দ্রনাথ ঠাকুরের আমার সোনার বাংলা আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি কবিতাকে, গানকে বুকে ধারণ করে ওরা অকৃত্রিম ভালোবাসায় সিক্ত করেছে দেশমাতৃকাকে। নিখাদ প্রেম উপহার দিয়েছে এই বাংলার মাটি ও মানুষকে। দেশমাতৃকাকে দিয়েছে শরীরের শেষ রক্তবিন্দু। ওরা কারা? ওরা ৩০ লক্ষ, ওরা আমাদের স্বাধীনতা, ওরা শামসুর রহমানের কবিতার মতো মুক্তি সেনার চোখের ঝিলিক, ওরা ঝাঁকড়া চুলের বাবরি দোলানো মহান পুরুষ, সৃষ্টি সুখের উল্লাসে কাঁপা। ওরা পতাকা শোভিত স্লোগান মুখর ঝাঝালো মিছিল, ওরা মজুর যুবা, ওরা রোদে ঝলসিত দক্ষ বাহুর গ্রন্থিল পেশি, ছিনিয়ে এনেছে ওরা আমাদের স্বাধীনতা। ওরা কারা? ওরা অবিনাশী পংক্তিমালা। মাগো ভাবনা কেন, আমরা তোমার শান্তিপ্রিয় শান্ত ছেলে, তবু শত্রু এলে অস্ত্র হাতে ধরতে জানি। তোমার ভয় নেই মা, আমরা প্রতিবাদ করতে জানি। ওরা কারা? ওরা ৩০ লক্ষ, ওরা বাঙালির সূর্য সন্তান, ওরা আমাদের মুক্তি, আমাদের জ্যোতি, ওরা আমাদের গৌরব গাথা। ওরা বাঙালির মনের মিনারে পথ পথ করে ওরা লাল সবুজ সেই পতাকা। থ্যাংক ইউ। Thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate.
Thank you very much for joining us. May I now go to Dhaka? Muhammad Mohsin Rashid is the Secretary General of SARC Law. Mr. Rashid? Yes, okay. Kindly join us.
Not? I'm with you.
Yeah. Now you're okay. Fine, go ahead.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for having me here on your platform. I am the Secretary General of SARC Law and have worked very closely with many Indians, with the Chief Justices of the SARC region. And I am quite close to Venugopal or Hemant or Singhvi or whatever. Now, I'm also the president of Bangladesh Muslim League. And let me, since it's in English, this was my message to the people in Bangla, but I'll do it in English for you. As we come together to celebrate Victory Day on December 16, 2024, let us take a moment to reflect on the resilience and courage that defined our struggle for independence. This day marks not only the triumph of our nation, but also the unwavering spirit of our people who fought for freedom and justice. On this special occasion, we honor the sacrifices of our martyrs and pay tribute to those who contributed to the birth of our beloved Bangladesh. May their legacy inspire us to continue working towards a prosperous, inclusive, and harmonious future for all. Let us celebrate our rich culture, heritage, and the unity that binds us together as Bangladeshis. Wishing you and your families a joyous Victory Day filled with pride and hope. Now, this was the message of the President of Bangladesh Muslim League. This was the message. So this is what we are doing. And there has been a lot of discussion on Jongis or terrorists or whatever. Let me tell you, from my perspective, Bangladesh has no Jongis. Bangladesh at this point in time has no terrorists. Maybe Sheikh Hasina eliminated them. I don't know. It could be a possibility. But right now, there are no terrorists in this country. Number two, on secularism. Well, when Bangladesh wrote their constitution, they incorporated secularism as we saw in the speech of Bangabandhu. India did not have a secularism in its constitution until the 42nd Amendment. It was only the 42nd Amendment which brought in secularism in the Indian constitution. But did we have problems? Did the Indian Muslims have any problems? They never faced any problems when there was no secularism. When secularism came in, we have been witnessing problems. They are being killed, riots, voter bank politics, and so on and so forth. But when secularism was not there, until 1976, there was no problem. Everybody was doing fine. It was an inclusive society, inclusive nation. See what is happening there now. We, Bangladesh Muslim League, we do not believe in secularism. Let me be very clear on this. We believe in humanity. We believe in humanity, whether you're a Hindu, a Christian, or whatever, a Buddhist, a Jain, or whatever you are, a Sikh, we believe in humanity. We understand that when there is a problem, does Muslim blood not flow through the Hindus or through the Christians, or the Hindus' blood does not flow us when we are having blood transfusions? It does. It does. So believe in humanity. What secularism? There's nothing like secularism. Let's all believe in humanity. Let's believe in human beings. Let's believe in the dignity of human beings. That is what Bangladesh Muslim League believes in. And that is what SARC was also doing. But then, for whatever reasons, India has to answer this. They blew up SARC. It has not blown up. The charter is there. We can still revive it. If necessary, we can revive it even without India. Does not matter. But we need a functional regional organization, so that under that umbrella, we can have, we're doing great with trade. We can have connectivity under this regional umbrella. And it would be great if India cooperates with us. But, somebody mentioned about 2008. Yes, we know the role of Pranab Mukherjee. We know the role of Sujata Singh, what they have done, how the elections were manipulated through the army. We know that there were the different ballot boxes. We know how they got the list of who will contest elections. They chose. That was not an election. We never had democracy, a true democracy. A true democracy will only come if you have rule of law, which is equality for all. Then you will have a proper functioning democracy. Then you will have a proper elections, because there's rule of law that is fundamental to hold the society together. Rule of law. Democracy will follow. Elections will follow as per the rules. If we have a rule-based society, we can go a long way. I don't want to contradict anyone. I don't. Since we're talking of Bangladesh and Indian relationship, there's a lot for me to contradict some gentlemen. But I will not do that. What I want to do is, let's reset our relationship with India. We have seen the rhetoric in the past few weeks when my High Commission was attacked in Tripura. We have seen the rallies which went to a High Commission in Delhi. There's some gentlemen here who did not even bother to talk about that. That was a blow on our sovereignty. We want to forget that. Let us build a proper, constructive relationship with India based on equality, sovereignty, and independence of Bangladesh. About Hindus, let me tell you. Hindus, there have been huge propaganda in India. And unfortunately, your Republic TV and Arnab, oh my God, he is not an anchor. And what surprises me is when because he's an Oxonian. I'm sure Oxonians don't behave like that. We look at Wire, look at Thapa, Karan Thapa. He's also anchoring. But what Republic does is very unfortunate. So what I would say is that rhetoric in India and Bangladesh must come down. We must engage ourselves. Diplomatic engagement can only go to certain extent, but political engagement can go much further. So it's time that let's tone down our rhetoric. Let's see how we can work together, get along together in the absence of Sheikh Hasina. The problem that I'll tell you what the people think in this country, and I'm sure Mr. Pinat knows this. People think that India only interacts with one family, that is the Sheikh family. That is the general feeling amongst the population here. And population which matters. Naturally, if you talk to a rickshawala or somebody, I'm not talking that population, I'm talking people who understand these things. Excuse me. So since we are talking about Bangladesh and India, we want a proper relationship, a relationship of respect, a relationship of dignity, a relationship between the people. But if India threatens us that we will not give you visas, well, fine. That's your prerogative. That's not for us. It's your prerogative. You may or you may not. That's up to you. But when there is another country like Pakistan and you give them visas, now you have decided to give them visa on arrival to people who are 65 years and above. 65 and above, you are giving them visas on arrival for 45 days, twice in a year, if they go via the Wagah border. Why can't we do that? Why can't India be magnanimous enough to give us visa on application on arrival, or maybe some kind of an online arrangement where people don't have to hassle through the Indian High Commission to get visas? Because in the Indian High Commission, when people apply for visas, they ask you for all your old passports. Bring them. Why? I've made inquiries. Well, I have not traveled to India on an Indian visa for the last 15 odd years, but they ask for these passports to verify whether you have gone to Pakistan or not. I mean, the Pakistanis can travel all over the globe. They're going to London, New York, Houston, every day. They're going everywhere. But if I have traveled to Pakistan for a SARC law meeting, and if you see the stamp, because for SARC law, I'm not taking a Pakistani visa, but the stamp at the airport, then you say you'll not give me. If I travel for a social function, India does not want to give visas. I think India has to understand that we can even do without you if required. You have a huge balance of trade, huge as compared to us. You export at least 9 to 10 times. You don't want to do that. You don't want to see that we export to India at that rate. You put in tariff barriers. Even when we had the SARC arrangement, you put in tariff barriers. And if somebody doesn't understand tariff barriers, I can explain it. So let's reset our relationship. Let's cool down our rhetoric and let's be good neighbors. We cannot change neighbors. So let us be good. Even Islam tells us, Islam in the Quran says, be good to your neighbors. We want to be good to you, but it has to be at the same level. If you think Bangladesh, a country of 55,000 square miles, a country of 18 crore or 180 million, who cares for them? We are such a huge country. The entire world wants to come and do business, then please go ahead and do that. But if you ask me, let's reset our relationship. Let's be good neighbors. We will be very good neighbors. But please, let's do it on the level of sovereignty, respect for dignity of Bangladesh. We are all there. I
Thank
don't
you
want
very
to get up so many other things that have been said. I've got answers to all, but I will not get
Can
into
you
that. I want a good
give
relationship.
me the
Thank you
chance?
very much for inviting me.
Yeah. Mr. Rashid, thank you very much for joining us from Dhaka. And thank you for expressing your views. A big clapping for you. Can we now go to Nepal?
Thank you.
We have a member of parliament of Nepal, Mr. Hari Charan Shah, waiting for us in Kathmandu. The floor is yours, Mr. Shah. Please go ahead. Thank you.
या धेरै धेरै नमस्ते छ। म नेपालबाट नेपाली जनता दलको प्रेसिडेन्ट, द कन्स्टिट्युएन्ट असेम्बली मेम्बर फ्रम काठमाडौँ, नेपाल, also member of parliament, doing the both work during the constitution making of Nepal 9 years ago. Okay, thank you all the participants and all the this FCC clubs members and all the audience. Victory Day, I was at that time first time in Kathmandu from my Terai region, Madhesh region, the plain region of Nepal, alongside the border of Bihar. And I was very surprised that looking here in Nepal, so many refugees, thousands of refugees here in Kathmandu, Nepal. At that time, when the 1920 to 1975, called Bangabandhu, honorable leader Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The Bangladesh and Pakistan was fighting, and also the India was at that time helping for freedom from Pakistan because of so many causes at that time. I heard there was a too much far distance from Bangladesh to, it means East Pakistan to West Pakistan. Also the language problem, Urdu and Bengali. Also the 1970 cyclone, Bhola cyclone, when it killed 35 lakhs of Bengali peoples. The government responded very poorly for the disaster. Also 1970 to 71, the Pakistan did not accept the election also when Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was winning in position. So many causes were there that Bengali peoples were dissatisfied with the Pakistan government and the rulers of West Pakistan. So this came very, very sincerely to get this victory for Pakistani people. Now I will just in 2-3 minutes I will take it. Pardon me, all the participants, all the audience, please. Happy and heartful congratulations to the Freedom Day. It was just celebrated 16th December, this 2024. So now the situation is changed there. There is no Sheikh Hasina is in India. No one country of the world was democratically allowing to give a certain place to Honorable the ex Sheikh Hasina. But India, which was a very, very democratic country known in all over the world, that India gave the shelter for her. Okay. So I will like to say that Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas. First of all, I will, Nepali are very happy to say that we are now joining the business partner with Bangladesh. The power treaty has been already signed between the two countries. Our Nepal, which is surrounded by three sides of border of Nepal to India, as the same, Bangladesh is also surrounded by three side borders of India. So we have Bangladesh and Nepal. Both have very, very close relation with India, because we, the SAARC country, sometimes ago Mr. Chakrabarti was very clearly describing all those events. So I do not like to go in that internal all the evidence. But it is important now that partner after power treaty of Nepal and Bangladesh will like to tell that only 22 kilometers is there in Indian territory, then after it becomes the Bangladesh territory. So in the time when it was fighting, the refugees were in Nepal from Bangladesh. I heard, I was known of that 100,000, 1 lakh Indian army were sacrificing the in fighting in the war, liberation war. And 1 lakh army of India was helping and was sacrificing their lives for freedom of Bangladesh. And so it was very, very a little bit, I will speak that this nowadays the happening in Bangladesh, I was watching by close to close there with the Jamaat-e-Islamiyah or the students or the killings of 300 students or any or other peoples. But it was a very Sheikh Hasina's government was very popular, and it was only the freedom fighters reservations in the government that was going to be ended by the Supreme Court at that time, but it was taking time. And the same time, I heard the Bangladesh had some problems with US, EU or China, this international politics. So this India and Indian peoples are democratic, who always thought Loktantra in Bangladesh, not only three sides of the borders, but also the way of Bengal, sea border also with India. So never acceptable in any interceptions by Westerns like US or China. The India has to roll in the SAARC country that the India is a peace zone in South Asia. He has the major role. India has to make this peace zone in South Asia. And we are now, just 1 month ago, I was in Delhi, 1.5 months ago, and we are looking at humanity is not obeyed by the all. I am a civil engineer and I left the government job, and I am working on humanity since 29, 30, 1 year as a political party here to establish in Nepal the social justice and humanity, and also the election system. So election is must there. I hope the interim government, it will make very soon the election, and that's last it deliver a message to universal humans that any religion that is working in Bangladesh, I see any religion must not be a hurdle for the next one. Jamaat-e Islamia did there in Bangladesh during these last revolutionary acts against the Hindus or Sikh or any other religions. So the real religious peoples do not hurdle to the other religious peoples. So this was called this like secular. So how the in secular all the religious people are free for their religion? So how the Jamaat-e Islamia did attack over the Hindus temple, the Buddha temple, the Sikh, and also torture to the people and got it to the death. We were very, very closely looking after the incident in the Bangladesh. So we will like to say that this like a Vasudev Kutumbakam, the India and Indian or this territory of Nepal, Bangladesh and India, even in Pakistan, they had to think twice that humanity must be established there. The election must be established there. Pakistan, yeah, so many interruption. Pakistan is also the younger brother or the brother of India. Bangladesh the same. So this Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India should revive their relation. I think they must think that never the other peoples can help them. Always the never और हर हमेशा पड़ोसी ही काम लगते हैं. इसलिए पड़ोस में हमारे सार्क कंट्री में in our SAARC region we have to make SAARC government or SAARC parliament, because sometimes it is going to happen with the China border or with the Pakistan border, always India fighting or Pakistan fighting. The others from America or from EU or from China, they always push, even in Sri Lanka or in Pakistan, to fight among us. So fight is never good for us in SAARC countries, SAARC region, and India has to a little bit think that he is a democratic and most democratic in the world. So democratic land hai, democratic land in the world. So India should play a role as a guardianship for the SAARC countries. Also in Bangladesh, brutality, other anything in the Pakistan or Bangladesh or Nepal, anywhere, if it is anti-humanitarian, India has to guide, has to a little bit be as a guardianship, and humanity should be placed. So Bangladesh is a rising star country, having a garment. I just hear that 60% garment is business is in minus. So how will the this is economy will grow there? Fishing, all those things, all these. If you are taking a religious contradiction, that will not good. So all the Bangladeshi people, 18 crore rupee men of Bangladesh should be united for humanity, and they all have to think like a democratic pattern. We have to go to the election, and since I will convey to the peoples of Bangladesh that they must go to the election very soon, and selling religion must not be a politics.
Thank you.
Selling
Thank you,
religion. Yeah.
Mr. Shah.
So such type of work, yeah, this is very nice. And thank you for all you FCC Foreign Correspondents Club का धन्यवाद, धीरे धीरे धन्यवाद चा, नमस्कार चा, प्रणाम, आदाब, सबको मेरा सलाम, धन्यवाद, जय जनता, जय नेपाल, जय भारत, जय बांग्ला.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shah. Can we now go to Kolkata? Our friend Shubir Bhaumik is patiently waiting there. He works for the BBC and is a veteran. He's been keeping watch in Bangladesh for a long time. And may I now invite you, Shubirda, to say what you have to say in 5 to 7 minutes, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So when it comes to me, you actually fix the time, but I'm fine with 5 minutes, no problem. Thing is, I no longer work for the BBC. I retired from BBC long ago. And Rashid Bhai was saying, how can an Oxonian behave? I am also an Oxonian. But anyway, I'm certainly not, the high pitch. I belong to a different era of journalism, so I don't believe in high pitch posturing. Now, this posturing, Rashid Bhai was right in saying that this posturing gets us nowhere. It does help certain people, certain political parties, certain political elements to get certain amount of domestic ground, electorally or otherwise. For instance, he has pointed out to the attack on Bangladeshi mission in Agartala, which is condemnable. But there have been attacks before that on Indian Indira Gandhi Cultural Center, as Pinakdar IT pointed out. And this, the tit for tat, you do something here, I do something against it. In my territory, apna mohalle mein gadha bhi sher hota hai. So, this only escalates. Now, even today, one of the top guys, the student leaders, he has given a new map. Some of the army veterans of Bangladesh have been threatening to conquer Calcutta. If you want to fight first, tackle the Burmese army which has been shelling your border. So, I don't want to get into this tutu meme, but let me tell you something. I agree with our friend, Mr. Rashid, that this posturing gets us nowhere. Posturing helps certain amount of domestic, sort of political interest. I want to pose as a big hero in front of my own people. So I say I will conquer Calcutta in 3 days. I will take 7 sisters, break 7 sisters. Please try it. Please give it a try. China tried, Pakistan tried, didn't succeed. So, if people are so confident of, breaking 7 sisters from India or conquering Calcutta in 4 days, please give it a try. I went to India's best military school. I promise you, our army is in place. Now, this posturing out there, here also we have seen certain level of posturing. This whole narrative that Hindus are in trouble, fine. Hindus have been attacked. Temples have been attacked. But under this dispensation, 45 to 50 Sufi mazars have been raised to ground. The Sufis who popularized Islam, gave Islam its popular folk character in the Bengal frontier. Sufi mazars have been attacked, Ahmadiyyas have been attacked, name it, and they have been attacked. In Chittagong Hill Tracks, people have been attacked. Now, I will just say that you need secularism as a principle embedded in your constitution to ensure at a legal level, and I'm sure my friend the lawyers will understand that you need a legal basis for certain great principles to play out. If you don't have a legal basis, I may have the best of humanitarian feeling, but when I go, the lawyer will say, "Yeah, the kanun mein nahi hai, this is not in law." So this government, the Attorney General, has actually pleaded in one of the cases on 15th Amendment that secularism should be dropped from Bangladesh Constitution. So we are aware of this churning that is taking place, and the reason that he has given why secularism should be dropped, is again, this is a majority nation. Now, one of the biggest problems with countries, including mine, is majoritarianism. Be it Bangladesh, be it Pakistan, and India now, This whole philosophy of majoritarianism is a very big threat. And this leads to certain level of posturing when majoritarianism is anchored on religion. It's a very dangerous thing. Majoritarianism actually led to the breakup of Pakistan. Why did the Bengalis break away? Because they are uncomfortable in Pakistan. Islam was an insufficient condition to hold these people together. And same is the case everywhere in the world. You think religion is a sufficient condition to hold a country as diverse as India or as diverse as any other country that we see in the neighborhood? It's not happening. It doesn't work that way. If religion was the be all and end all, Christian powers would not have fought two world wars. Let's get that right. I had a very good friend who had fought in the jihad in Afghanistan. He ultimately joined Ruji, and I had very good relations with him at a personal level. And he said, this is all bullshit. We went to fight the jihad in Afghanistan, and these people, they thought of Bengali Muslims as third-rate Muslims. They used to call us Mishkin. So, we have seen all these things, and I just want to draw attention to three things that stands out in the Bangladesh post-Hasina. I'm very much against people who try to defend Sheikh Hasina's regime. There was political cronyism, people like Salman and Rahman. They thrived. Banks were looted. The economy was ruined by these people. And today, the effect, Mr. Yunus has to face it. But what is now happening in Bangladesh is it is becoming a vendetta republic. So you take it out on other people, you go and kill, there is a mobocracy, there's a culture, anybody can do anything, get away. And I have, because I'm an Agartala boy, we have intimate connections in places. My ancestry, I trace it back to Kumilla, Brahmanbaria. So, we have very good connections. I worked in Bangladesh with BD News 24. The common people have tremendous problem because the government has failed to arrest the rise of prices of essential commodity. The economy is in various kinds of problems that our friend from Toronto had highlighted. There is less attention, and I have a sneering feeling that the government of the day wants to divert attention by playing up all these factors, anti-India, anti-this, anti-that. They want to divert attention from their own failures. It's true that in 4 months you cannot solve all problems, but at least make an effort to solve it rather than try to divert. And then when important people in the government who are advisors now, who have been described as the mastermind of the student agitation, if they are talking of extending the territory of Bangladesh, capturing Calcutta, well, sir, please focus your attention on handling your own country properly. Try to bring your economy, try to bring the prices under control. That's your priority. Okay? Forget about trying to conquer Calcutta. Give it a try if you want to. Number one. So, don't get into this cheap populism to divert attention. Secondly, we saw from the very beginning that the interim government, and there is no provision for an interim government in the present Bangladesh constitution. Even the caretaker provision is not there anymore. The present government, well, they had an argument that we'll first do reforms, then we'll think of election. Now, under huge pressure from various corners, including the leading political parties, I think there is an attempt to give a time frame, though not very clearly, later part of 2025, beginning of 2026. That's a long time to go. Point is, does an interim government with no popular mandate have the mandate to undertake major reforms which can change the character of the body polity of Bangladesh? That's a question I want to throw to this audience. Can a government which has not been elected, well, you blame Sheikh Hasina for fraudulent elections or for elections which are less than fair. This government is not elected, sir. Mr. Yunus has never fought an election. He tried to get in through the back door, courtesy of the Americans, as somebody rightly pointed out, in 2007-8. And again, this time he's there. Fine. He has good friends in powerful countries. That's fine. The point is, do you as an interim government have the mandate, the popular mandate to undertake major reforms which can change the character of the body polity, the constitutional framework of Bangladesh? That's a question I want to leave it to people who understand it more than me. Um, this is number two. Number three, don't turn this country into a vendetta republic. That the only job of the present government is to back people who are going after a particular political party in the name of retribution. Retribution cannot be state sponsored because if retribution is state sponsored, then we have to say that the country law and order is broken down. There is no law and order there in the country. If retribution is official policy, which seems to be the case at the moment, India Bangladesh relations. I don't agree with the policy. If there are some real problems there of running visa centers which were attacked, that's a different issue. But I don't believe, I fully agree with friend Rashid. India should be generous in terms of giving visas because all kinds of people from Bangladesh come to Calcutta. They come for marketing, shopping. I have sisters in Bangladesh who come here and say, "Bhaijan, ekhane to onek sosta. Ei jonno ekhane astechi." So, they come for treatment. Humanitarian ground. One of my friends is coming tomorrow. He just called me up a few minutes back before I joined the program because he had a kidney transplant here. Now, asking this gentleman who is a surveyor, who is a bureaucrat, to go to some other country for treatment, US, UK, well, he can't afford it because he is a salaried person. So he has to come to India if he doesn't have a treatment good enough in Bangladesh. So, we cannot deny our friends in Bangladesh. If we talk of people to people relation, that is very important. Forget about governments, forget about politics, forget about, this posturing that people are doing. But common people in Bangladesh have to be allowed to come to India and visa should be given. There is no reason we should deny visa. If there's a practical problem in processing because of, visa centers have to be closed down because of security reasons. If things are back to normal, we should be liberal with visas for Bangladeshis. Don't forget, Bangladeshis constitute, as Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti had rightly said, the largest segment of tourists in India. And Calcutta particularly, and Tripura, my home state, well, we depend a lot, our economy depends a lot on Bangladeshis who come here for simple shopping, for medical treatment, because they spend a lot of money here. Western tourists come here and don't spend that kind of money, and they don't come in that number. So Bangladesh, there was a line of thinking when Manmohan Singh ran the show in India, that Bangladesh will be the pivot for growth for neighboring Indian states like West Bengal and the Northeast, which are less than developed compared to other states in India. That's a perfectly valid theory. Bangladesh as a country with a substantial population, with a growing economy at some point of time before these cronies came into the scene, was doing well, and it was rubbing on to us. It was rubbing on to the neighboring states. And this kind of mutuality of interest, apart from the history of the liberation war, the legacy of the liberation war, and that's my last point I want to make. You don't deny the very basic principle on which this nation was founded. It was founded on secular, liberal Bengali nationalism. Let's get that clear. The legacy, you can criticize Sheikh Hasina, you can attack her, you can say all kinds of things, and she made a lot of mistakes, and there was no point defending. But at the end of the day, please don't deny the founding principles of the Republic. Don't deny the very basis on which Bangladesh was founded. Don't deny, don't try to undo the legacy of 1971. Don't try to undermine the very basis on which Bangladesh was founded. Bangladesh was founded on a very different basis than Pakistan was. 47 and 71 are different phenomena. Let's get that right. And if you are trying to deny the very basis on which your country was founded, I think there is serious problem. There is serious problem. I don't want to sound like a foreigner trying to lecture, but I'm as much an East Bengali as you guys are, some of you are. I'm from Agartala. হ্যাঁ আমিও আমার বাসাতে দেশি ভাষায় কথা কই বুঝছেন হ্যাঁ তো এর লিগে this is the reason why I'm trying to say we have seen 71 close up, a close quarter. We are emotionally attached to it as much as anybody in Bangladesh. And therefore, I don't want to get into this radical posturing which is happening on both sides of the border. This is doing enormous damage. All this loose talk, both sides, responsible people doing loose talk, even here and also there. Mamata Banerjee, suddenly UN peacekeepers should be sent to Bangladesh. Does she understand what basis UN peacekeepers are sent to a certain country? So, and of course, many in Bangladesh saying we'll conquer Calcutta. This is all nonsense. This is all domestic posturing. They are trying to garner some local support. And this is doing enormous damage in an era where you have social media and news travels fast. And bad news travels faster. As a journalist, I know that. So I will end here with one last word. And that is, let's look at the mutuality of interest and let's frame our future bilateral relations more on this mutuality of interest, which is enormous, which is there for everyone to see. As Sheikh Mujib had once said, Bhutto wants us to import coal from China, does not work. I'll import coal from West Bengal, where there is a lot of coal mining taking place, Raniganj Jhoria, because he knew Calcutta, he knew West Bengal, he studied here. So let's look at the mutuality of interest apart from the emotions, the cultural similarities. And also let us understand that let's not make this a Hindu-Muslim or a India-Bangladesh problem. A lot of people in Bangladesh who are not Hindus have been attacked. Sufi mazars, the Sufis who influenced Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Please don't forget it. Raja Ram Mohan Roy's first book, Tufatul Muawwadin, he wrote it in Persian. He made a case against idolatry. He started the Brahmo Samaj. He was influenced by the Sufis, the Mutazilites. So, these Sufi mazars have been attacked. 45 of them I have the list. Maybe more have been attacked later. So, don't try to take your country, don't try to make it another Pakistan. Don't try to make it another failed state. It does not work. Religion is an insufficient condition for a modern nation state, as has been proved time and again across the world. And this is something our American friends also should understand. They try to, in the name of democracy, they will bring down an autocrat like Hosni Mubarak. Who comes in the place? Morsi, Islamic Brotherhood. So that has been the history of the American deep state. So I hope, they begin to understand that what they do in the name of democracy exactly has an opposite reaction. And they get it all wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Subir Bhaman. From Kolkata, we come back to Delhi now. May I now invite Mr. Gautam Lahiri, the president of the Press Club of India. He writes for Bangladeshi media. The floor is yours, Gautam.
Well, thank you, Venkatji. I am really honored to be invited here among many galaxy of peoples who are the expert in their domains. So, obviously, Mr. Ambassador Pinak Chakravarti played a huge role, which he has mentioned initially in his initial talks. And also, I see a young diplomat from Bangladesh mission here. Welcome here. Very good evening to all of you. But everything has been said, so I don't think I would add, I will not take much time, because the broad spectrum of what is happening in Bangladesh and also India-Bangladesh relations has been told. But I actually watch Bangladesh not as a social scientist or from a diplomatic angle. I was watching Bangladesh through a journalistic lens. So what I found there, so whatever my assessment would be on the basis of facts. Whether anybody can challenge the facts, that's up to them. Journey of Bangladesh, actually, what I feel that since after partition, there is a kind of a society is deeply polarized, and it is an interesting case study which never gets attention in many academia. Some of them are working on it, but I think it should get an attention. There is nowhere in the world you will see a country is liberated on the basis of a recognition of the mother tongue. It has happened in Bangladesh. After that, when the father of the nation who was assassinated, and that after that so many military ruler came, they were assassinated. There was change of even the military government for a long year, 75 to 91. During those days, actually, since the partition, after even the liberation of Bangladesh, so Bangladesh polity was deeply polarized between two school of thoughts. That is, one is in which way Bangladesh should go, whether in a liberal, democratic, progressive, secular way on the basis of a Bengali nationalism, or it will go in other way like other Islamic countries, like whether or Islamic identity first, then Bengali. So Bangladesh always were in the crossroads on these two issues. Sometimes those who believed that Bangladesh should be a progressive country, liberal country, and they actually won over the so-called Islamist forces. But sometimes the Islamist forces got on top, which I feel that many countries has a kind of a sense that they call it a deep state. The word deep state has been used many times. In many states, deep state means a kind of in the security apparatus or the secret administration of a particular government. But my assessment is after 5th of August, the deep state actually the Islamic fundamentalism, who are driving the country now. There are many faces in the when we see. I am not accusing that those who are running the government they are fundamentalists, but I see that the government has no control over anything. So who is running? Running actually from the behind, those forces, they have put out some faces in the front. And in this way, the government is functioning. So Bangladesh's story is not over on 5th August. I think there will be many 5th August would come. We have to watch for that. It's an evolving situation, evolving story. As a journalist, I think. And what is happening that many people have broadly touched upon that, you see, even one thing as a journalist, I represent the journalist community, so I have to mention that if there is a democracy now in Bangladesh, if the democracy, the freedom of rights have been re-established, which was not there, Hasina's regime, then why the journalists and editors are put behind the bars? Why they are charged with a murder charge? Why their accreditations were cancelled? 200 journalists. Is it democracy? Can anybody explain? Because they were supporter of some dispensation. So if some name has been dropped here, so if some government thinks that he has been put behind bar because he is siding with some government, that is not the case. That should not be the case of a welfare state or a civilized state. If you don't recognize or sympathize or give respect to your media fraternity, then your democracy means there is normally called is a fourth pillar. In early 18th century, Edmund Burke, the British parliamentarian who declared that those who are sitting in the gallery, they are the fourth pillars. Though there is no mention fourth pillars in our constitution, but British constitution is the unwritten constitution. It is in the constitution in that sense. So here, we're from FCC, from Press Club of India, jointly we wrote to Chief Executive, Muhammad Yunus, please stop this. No, we have written 2 letters. Nothing has been done. Even we found after that, the Editors Guild of Bangladesh, they also met Chief Executive and got an assurance. They had a press conference outside meeting him and said that he assured that it will be taken care of. Nothing has been done. Why? And those papers, those newspapers, if they're known to be a critic of Sheikh Hasina government, they are now attacked. They are not attacked. Because the simple theory is, if you ride a tiger will one day kill you. It happened during Hasina's regime when she promoted Hepazat Islam. Now Hepazat is in the government. And Hepazat is one of the, many cases filed against Sheikh Hasina that for a murder charge or something she has done wrong. But point is that Hepazat is now against Hasina, whom she is promoted to neutralize Jamaat Islam. But once she started with the Jamaat Islami, but later on she changed course. That's a different story altogether. Pinagda knows it very well. But my point is simple, that this government, I think, that rightly Shubir has said, there is no legitimacy, because in the constitution, there is no provision for a caretaker government. If there is a caretaker government, they should be punished. It is also written. Fortunately, this government got a mandate from the court, so that government is there. Now, today I heard that the 15th Amendment, where the caretaker system was abolished, has been reinstated again. So now the government has got some kind of a legal sanctity. That yes, because court has given that sanctity, not the people. People has not yet given this sanctity. I found I was a little confused about really the rightly said, only India generally or any government, they work with the elected government, proper government, elected by the people, wrongly, whatever, by rigging, if you say, but they have elected by the people. And the world recognized Sheikh Hasina government. It's not India only recognized. I saw in 2014, I went there when the BNP and Jamaat boycotted this election. After that, when the Sheikh Hasina took oath, I found all the Western powers ambassadors were in the front row. Our poor Indian ambassador got a second seat. So it's not, the world doesn't work like that. World finds its place to work with the government. Now, problem is this government is that, as I said, there is no centralized, who is running that question I have raised. And also I said, I am a little confused about what Dr. Yunus is saying in different media. Now he has said lastly on the address to a nation that election might be held after 25th or early 26th. But point is, main opposition party BNP has raised question. What is the roadmap for that election? That you have not said. And that BNP has said it publicly. First, so that is a thing that there is a churning going on. It may lead to a disaster. It may lead to a consolidation of a good thing. That's, I don't know. That can't predict. It can't be can't be predicted about Bangladesh now. It is an evolving and very fluid situation. In one interview to an Indian media, he said 25th. In another interview to an editor of a leading daily, he said 26th. Now to an interview to Al Jazeera, he said, I am here for 4 years. Which Yunus is correct? So that's the question. So he's confused. Because he's confused is not his fault. Because he doesn't have power to say anything. When the first army chief said election will be held after 1.5 years, then Yunus himself contradicted that. Now he is coming back to that point, of army chief's point. So it is an utterly confusing scene. So India, definitely after 75, India dealt with all the governments that was there, with the army government, caretaker government. Caretaker government was given a red carpet welcome here. During Pinakda's time, Pinakda's advice that the army chief was presented by 6 horses, good horses, because he liked horses, Indian horses. So after that, the election was in and Sheikh Hasina came to power. I am not going into the details. I'm not saying that what Sheikh Hasina has done during his governance, during her governance, everything was good, everything should be. What India did, India kept relationship with everyone, each government, because it has to be. It is a 4,000 kilometer border. You cannot ignore that neighbor. So India will have to take a very cautious and kind of keep them in a good humor so that they are in a happy, because there are elements who are now in the streets whom Sheikh Hasina put behind bars, like all the terrorists. 70 terrorists are outside now jail, and they're the direct terrorist. I don't know what will happen later on. There are people saying this Jamaat Islami looks like a little secular now. But the other element who are now working there, like Hizbut Tahrir, is banned in most of the countries, even in US. They are working here, and US is supporting this government. Well, they can support any government, that's another matter. But point is that now the danger for India is to deal with this government so that this ultra Islamist militant, they don't take an upper hand. That will be India's first job, to neutralize, to take a good relationship with the present government so that our security is not endangered. It is happening, it's a critique of the Awami League government. Delhi Star, Pratham Alo has listed what happened in 5, 6 and 7th August. Thousands of sculptures were vandalized. More than 500 temples were vandalized, burned down. Police forces were burned alive. It was reported, I am not quoting any other paper, I am quoting, it is recorded, the Pratham Alu and Daily Star. That's why these fundamentalist forces attack this Pratham Alu and Daily Star because why you have published those. And this, unfortunately, what you say, the leading journalists of the country, no doubt, unfortunately, they are also supporter of so-called -2 during 2007. They believe that depoliticization would be the best for Bangladesh. That exactly now the government is a depoliticized government. No politician is in the government. All are NGOs, executives, or bureaucrats, or technocrats, you can say. But there is no politician. That's why they may be good technocrat, they may be good banker, they may get a Nobel for that, but they can't govern the government. Government running is something only one the politician can do. They understand the people's past, good or bad, whatever. So only that thing I pray for Bangladesh people, and I pray that good sense will prevail. It is true that finally government has admitted that 88 incidents of Hindus were attacked. It was officially admitted. 88, not a small number. 88 were attacked. It was declared officially. So it means within 100 days of Yunus government, 88 Hindu families were attacked. Incident of attacking Hindu families, where number was 88, but they have arrested 70 people. That is also true. But well, Pinakla has already said they have not expressed any grief or regret for vandalizing the Indian High Commission, Indian establishment. Cultural center of India was vandalized, burned down, just beside in Dhanmandi, just behind the Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's house. That was also burned down. So it's a really, Bangladesh is definitely a state which will be closely watched. It is, I would say that we should all watch it very carefully. We should not do anything so that aggravate the situation. That also I am appeal to both as a media. I will say to the media, please check your facts first, whether it's true or false. There are some misreporting, that is, don't deny that, but there are also fact reporting. The factual reporting has also happened. It is not that everything is, firstly, they tried to deny. Initially, BNP government, they used to deny that no infiltration was taking place. One important top minister told her clearly, are they coming from moon? You mean to say the infiltration is coming from moon? So later he apologized to that leader of the Bangladesh. But point is, they always in the denial mode. Why you accept that there might be 88 when you are saying, then it could be 800. It is true that no Hindus, and this is another thing I will stop here by saying, a new thing Bangladesh, why it's an interesting case for study. Now a new thing is happening. We don't know what will it lead to. It's a Hindu revival movement. It's a very interesting thing is happening. I am not saying as a Hindu chauvinist. I am saying what Bangladesh has seen earlier days, the student movement, other movements, this 5th August movement. Now a new movement is taking place. This is consolidation of Hindus. There are 1,80,00,000 Hindus in Bangladesh till now, though it's come down to 8%. But this 1,80,00,000 is not a small number. And those people who have crossed over India, I found from our intelligence agencies, 80% are Muslims who have crossed over, not Hindus. Because Hindus have now decided they will stay there and fight and they will earn their rights. So that will be a very interesting thing in the coming days. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Gautam. Now we open the session to questions and answers. Anybody who has a question, kindly raise your hand. And then, yeah.
I had a question for the gentleman who joined from Bangladesh Muslim League. Is he still there or has he left? Because I think what Mr. Bhaumik raised is a very important point, and I think he alone could address it adequately, because it's a very significant point that how can an unelected government, a government that came through a public uprising, argue for carrying out very deep-rooted reforms. In fact, the Attorney General of Bangladesh has gone to the court asking for removal of the term secularism from the Bangladesh Constitution. The question is, where does this interim arrangement draw its legitimacy to carry out this sort of deep reforms? I was expecting him to answer it because Mr. Bhaumik raised it here. So I think this is a very significant point. If all of you could also introspect on it, it would be good to hear.
Yeah, I agree. Subir, would you like to say something on this?
Unmute.
Huh? Yeah.
Mute it.
Reforms are an excuse to stick on in power for a very long time, 4 years, 3 years. Then it's a different ballgame. If people think somebody was now saying, or Gautam was saying perhaps, that does not have control. Maybe because he does not have a political base of his own, he would like to continue in power, and the only way he could do that is holding up this excuse that, oh, I need to reform first. I need to reform everything. So I have 10 different committees, and there is a constitution reform committee headed by a Bangladeshi origin professor who lives in the US and who has, last couple of days attacked the president-elect Donald Trump very seriously. He was my colleague in the BBC, he was a producer. Then he went and did his PhD. But I don't really think he's a constitution expert, but he is in charge of the Constitution Reforms Committee. The point I'm trying to make here is that constitutional reforms of the kind that people have been saying is either the business of a constituent assembly or an elected parliament. That's my understanding of constitutions and law, and I taught political science for a while in a college before I came into journalism. So my own sense is that an interim government, and there is no provision for an interim government of today. Maybe a new court order brings back the caretaker arrangement. The 15th Amendment is annulled, but it's today. These actions have been taken before today's court. So there is a hurry. There is a clear hurry to do up the legalities, which means I don't have a legal basis. I will do it up. I don't have a legal basis for my government, so I'll do it up. And how I'm going to do it up? I'm going to force the entire appellate bench to resign, because where I can't do it directly, where I can't sign an executive order to remove judges of Supreme Court, I'll send the students there. They are the hatchet guys, so they go there. They're guided by a professor who is the law advisor, but is much better at breaking law. And send these, students there who create a situation in which the judges are forced to resign. The principals are forced to resign. So this is mobocracy, which our friend from Toronto has been saying. And this mobocracy is not something that's happening naturally. It's well orchestrated mobocracy, which this government is resorting to. They don't have a political. Maybe the students and all these people I am hearing strong rumors that they are trying to set up their own political party. So they need a lot of time. So reforms are a good excuse to buy time so that you can put in place a political party. Maybe the core of that party may come from wherever, some of these students. And another thing, people are talking of Chhatro Janata. This is no autonomous independent student movement. All these students, like elsewhere in Bengal, in West Bengal also, you think there is any autonomy for student movement? They are all politically involved. Koi SFI hai, UIF hai, so koi Trinamool Congress hai. In Bangladesh also, somebody is with Chhatra Dal, which is BNP, some of the Chhatra League, or Islamic Chhatra Shivir. And many of these leaders of this student movement, the Kota movement or whatever it was called, are from Hizbut Tahrir. They have been systematically trained by many people, including Turkish intelligence. Ask Mr. Nahid or Asif how many times they have traveled to Turkey. What interest Turkey has got here? So, the problem is the devil is in the detail. There are people who theorize and there are people who come up with quick fix solution. I place a lot of importance on detail. Where are these people? Ask these 5, 6 student leaders, Asif, Nahid, the people who led the movement. How many times they have gone to Turkey via Dubai? How many times they have gone to Qatar? Which European, which American diplomat they were meeting there? Were they not meeting Sabine Hinton? I'm giving a name, who served in Bangladesh before, was very close to the BNP. How many times they go to Pakistan? And it is very, very unusual that suddenly there is a surge of pro-Pakistani feelings. I have no problem. You may like a particular country, but your country was born on the basis of a mother language movement, which is recognized by the UN as such. And today suddenly I speak fluent Urdu. I don't have a problem with Urdu at all. But Urdu at the cost of Bengali. Somebody comes and tells me tomorrow, from tomorrow you will only speak in Hindi, you will forget Bengali, and throw that guy out of my place. Because I am a proud Indian, but I am also first, I am a Bengali. I am very proud of my own language. Point here is suddenly, there is a new trend that people who can't speak a line of Urdu, you go to some of these imams in Calcutta, they'll say, Bengali Musliman ko tarike se Muhammad Rasul nahi bolna aata. Janab, kya baat kar rahe? मोहम्मद रसूल बोलता है, तो वो अचानक उसको उर्दू का मोहब्बत में फिदा हो रहा है. दिस इज समवट अनयूजुअल. यू सी, देयर आर पॉलिटिकल एजेंडास हियर, देयर आर नेगेटिव बिल्डिंग हियर, देयर इज एन अटेम्प्ट टू undo the legacy of 71, which is dangerous. That is something very dangerous.
I think you have really answered the question very well, sir. Because but I would also ask Ambassador Chakravarti to answer at some point that when this King's Party that everybody is anticipating, if Muhammad Yunus is announcing that elections would be held in early 2026, then the period that he is giving us is quite sufficient for launching of a King's Party. And if that is the plan, then what happens to the Bangladesh Nationalist Party? Then it appears the biggest loser would be Bangladesh Nationalist Party. And can we avoid a political meltdown in the country? Because if Bangladesh Nationalist Party senses that it is going to be the biggest loser, Awami League is already out of the battle ring, and then it's over to the new player, the King's Party. So what is the situation looking ahead for the Bangladesh Nationalist Party in this situation, sir?
Well, in 2007, the phrase you used, the King's Party, was the party that Yunus floated. That was called the King's Party at that time, everywhere, in the media and everywhere. Did it succeed? No. It didn't succeed. Primarily because the army later on realized that it's not going to work. And neither -2 nor the King's Party would garner kind of public support that is required to form a government. Will it happen this time? I would say that I doubt it. That the King's Party, you can't cobble together a countrywide party in 4 months, 5 months. That's why the time frame became important. That reforms was a good slogan to say, we need to do reforms first, 4, 5, 6 years. Then only we can, completely, reset. You use the word reset also, no? Reset everything. So, but now it's back to 1.5 years. I mean, if you take what he said yesterday about having elections. Now, is that sufficient time for the students or whoever who want to form a separate party? No, I understand the urge to do so because they are in power. They have tasted power. So they will say, look, if we can have a party and come back to power, the mood is there now. So they would attempt it, I think. I mean, logically. But in my view, it's unlikely that they'll be able to organize. Organizing a countrywide party is not that simple. After all, how many supporters they will get in each district or whatever, wherever you organize it, or Upozela or whatever. So my sense is that whatever party, even if they do, they're unlikely to succeed. And I think BNP shouldn't worry too much. That is why BNP is worried, was worried, or is still worried, that if you stretch it for too long, then things will change or something will happen. People will say, look, you see, today the urge to vote is very strong because people feel that they have been denied a free and fair election where I can choose somebody, where everybody is there and I can choose somebody. Now, that generation which came of age to vote would like to vote. So they are saying have elections, let everybody stand. There was even an attempt to ban the Awami League. Can you imagine? So there are all of, peculiar kind of things are happening. Of course, these are all individuals who are angry, who are sentimental, and they want to do,
No, they
voicing
have a plan.
voicing certain
They have a
attitude.
plan.
Sorry, Subir, ki bolle?
No, no, they are not angry. They belong to a certain formation. These student leaders have a Hizbut Tahrir background, so they have a plan. They have an agenda. They are not doing it out of anger or something.
Disagree with you, but I didn't want to say that. So, there's a difference. You're a journalist, I'm a diplomat. So
You
I,
were a diplomat, sir. You are no longer a diplomat.
anyway, let's not get into
But their falling popularity is in evidence when they try to get out the residence of the president. There are hardly 500, 600 people there. So Chhatra Janata has evaporated over a period of time. It's only the hardcore, this Islamist Hizbut Tahrir type, the Shibir people, they were there. 500 people. When they get out Shahabuddin Chuppu's residence, it didn't work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Subir. I think you've said enough. Let me continue with what I was saying. I was saying that there is another reason why popular discontent, is going to rise if this interim government stays for a long time. So there are different forces working on the government, and if yesterday's announcement is of any value, I don't know whether it will be the time frame. I think they are also worried about popular discontent. On the streets, rising prices, etc. All kinds of things can cause those problems. So best, as I said, best is to have elections, and that is why BNP also feels that way. And we have been in touch with the BNP. They are discussing various things with the Indian government, and so I think that's the position.
Ambassador Chakravarti, my name is Tripti Nath. I was just wondering, we heard many speakers talk about the visa issue, between the Bangladeshis. And of course, I understand that the Bangladeshis come in huge numbers to India and contribute a lot to the economy by the way they spend money and for the fact that they don't have the medical facilities in their own country, so they come here for treatment. Now, as we understand, people-to-people relations are a very important component.
What's your question?
Yeah, my question is that since people-to-people relations are a very important component in bilateral relations between two countries, what do we stand to lose? I mean, Indian government will lose a lot of goodwill because if we continue the way we do by not giving visas, or as one speaker said that we are asking for passports for 15 years just to see whether people have traveled to Pakistan. So what is the way out?
Well, there are options, and I think they are possibly being considered. I don't know, but I believe that that the visa services that have been disrupted for various reasons, and it's not our fault that it was disrupted. It was because the security wasn't there, the visa offices got attacked, and people ran away from those offices. So we had to take some measures to ensure security. Now we have asked them; they have promised to provide full security, the interim government, and I believe that we will slowly ramp it up slowly. We are giving visas. It's not that we are not giving visas, but it's limited because there are not enough people to process it. So I believe it is mutually beneficial that we should restore the visa services. It will take a bit of time. We have to send everybody back. We have to ensure that security is okay. I think the government of India still feels that security is not particularly good and adequate. So let's see. I think this is an assessment the security people will make, and then once that is made, I think then things might come back.
Yes, please.
I'm Sachin Patil, former bureaucrat, now working on government policies and programs. A very interesting discussion. I am listening here, but I want to give some suggestions here for though people are connected to worldwide here, that nobody is talking about this relevance of SARC countries. India had accepted Bangladesh as a sovereign country in 1971. That is not issued. Presently, some section of community is being targeted there, and as a mankind, we have to help them. So we must request the foreign countries and foreign ministers foreign ministers of SARC countries can immediately meet and discuss all issues.
You must get to your question because I can't stay for very long.
Question. Please ask the question.
Question, you kindly take initiative. All countries must take initiative for this foreign ministries.
It's an observation. It's fine.
Yeah, this is observation, but and here Mr. Lyrie talk about deep state. This deep state is like the foreign interest in particular countries that they are provoking the opposition parties or opposition groups against the government. Here in India, we are also seeing the same situation. The deep state is working. Deep state is working in Sri Lanka, in Nepal, and for peace. Being a neighboring countries, and the peace is it is creating hurdle in peace.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You understand?
Yeah, I think there is yes.
You have a question.
The last question.
Thank you. Given the situation, there is a massive economic crisis in the country. Obviously, there is a huge amount of unemployment. The banking sector has absolutely crushed. So I just wanted to understand. I mean, I know it probably is not our answer to find, but I just wanted to understand that is there an example where something like this happened and the government, there was a way for the country to go back? Because sorry, okay, sorry for that. No, I mean, is there an example historically something like that happened where a government could find a way to revive the economy in certain ways? Because it's like a gangrene otherwise.
Yeah, if you go back into history, you will find many, many examples of, revolutions or whatever you may call it, sudden upheavals, etc. And many countries have gone back to normal and to probably greater economic prosperity as well. I mean, I don't want to go back into too much history, but it's not, it's feasible, if I may say so. But then you need a certain stability, you need law and order, you need to ensure that. But today, I don't think Bangladesh is in that position that one can very confidently say, yes, everything will go back to normal in 1 year or 2 years, etc. And because there are whatever has happened has left a deep wound on the economy itself also. Unemployment was certainly very high. That was one of the reasons why this anti-quota movement started, because meritorious students felt that they were being denied jobs. I mean, that feeling was certainly there. And that is why it sort of triggered a certain amount of anger. But then to the bottom line is, as yes, Bangladesh can regain its prosperity. It has the capability. It has shown already that it can do it. 6.5%, the fastest growing economy in Asia, etc., and all that, with GDP which crossed that of Pakistan. Can you imagine? Bangladesh exported more; its foreign reserves were more than that of Pakistan. These are recorded facts. You can see the statistics.
Last question. Please be brief. We have to end it. It went. Use the microphone, please.
Thank you.
Identify yourself.
Yes, Ranjit Bhushan is my name.
Yeah.
Is Bangladesh going to shift this way? Thank you, sir. So what happens to the country? I mean, it's an old ally of India. Now China is also very interested in Bangladesh. How do you see all this going?
Well, China has always been interested in India's neighborhood after a certain period after China's rise, after China became economically more robust and it had the money to spend after BRI. And so that's how they used BRI as a vehicle. It is both an economic as well as strategic project. Bangladesh joined the BRI. In fact, all our neighbors joined the BRI, except probably Bhutan, I think. So China wanted to invest. The strategic objective was to reduce India's influence in the neighborhood and increase its own. Plus, China always wanted foothold in the Indian Ocean, which it never had. Because it is located in a manner where we call it the Malacca dilemma and things like that. That its trade is by and large with the West, mainly. All the oil that it gets is also from the West, and it all has to go through the Indian Ocean and through the Malacca Straits. So I think China's role has been, and its ambition to be a global superpower and things like that. So it has worked on that principle.
But with the new regime there, how does it now?
Well, you'll be interested to know that China has, of course, engaged with everybody, and they have actually taken a delegation of the leaders of all the Islamist parties to Beijing for a free kind of Khana Pina and tour, etc. Now, why would China do that? The question is, people like us would ask, why is China cultivating the Islamists? So I think China doesn't care about religion, and it obviously sees the Islamist parties playing a role in the next government or in any future dispensation that's going to happen. So that is my reading. And I think one of the reasons why Hasina had spoken of American pressure over the years to grant them military facilities somewhere, St. Martin's Island, things like that, and she consistently refused, was because of Chinese, because China had actually, their ambassador in Dhaka had warned openly, which no ambassador does, and he was pulled up for it, that Bangladesh will suffer if it joins the Indo-Pacific. He had said so openly. So I think those are some of the issues that China. But today, of course, China may be feeling, look, there's a new government coming, and we'll have to deal with them. Like we are also saying that we'll have to deal with them. So, but they have done something more than us, and that is to cultivate the Islamists.
That's very good. Thank you, sir.
Before I invite Prakash to propose a vote of thanks, may I invite Tripti Nath to present mementos to Gautam and Shumi, and Professor Dogra to Mr. Chakravarti.
Friends, we had really a highly enriching evening. Thanks to the distinguished panelists or speakers. And interestingly, it was a global exchange of views, in the sense that except two participants here in Delhi, rest were from abroad. And then, of course, one is from Calcutta. I think if one can summarize the things very briefly, there are two aspects that we came across from various points that our distinguished panelists made. One was how things happened in Bangladesh and what exactly is the situation there. And of course, various points were made in that regard. Some said the deep state, some said that, highly political polarization between, basically between two Sheikh Hasina, and every opposition is the anti-Sheikh Hasina, which the Islamists have taken advantage of. And then this, vindictive, politics that precisely we are, seeing today. And of course, Gautam talked about the way media is being punished, and there is no independent, voice there, and that is preventing us and the rest of the world from knowing what exactly is the truth there in Bangladesh. The second aspect was what is the impact on Indo-Bangladesh relationship. Obviously, it was realized that at that point was made, since the tempers are running very high, it will take some time. And as Ambassador Chakrabarti, being a diplomat, is an eternal optimist, say that things will be taken care of subsequently with the course of time. But then some others said that for this, India has to take a proactive role, because it is the, if not the big brother, it is the elder brother. I think our gentleman, our distinguished panelist from Nepal made that point, and advocate Rashid from Dhaka, of course, he was little bit critical in the sense that this upmanship up in India, there has to be what he said, that the treatment of equality and the sovereignty, and that thing has to be there for true reconciliation or true friendship between India and Bangladesh. But the point, everybody agreed that whatever happens, the people's interest have to be taken into account, because if things get prolonged in this manner, then people of both India and Bangladesh suffer in the process. So various suggestions were made how our visa thing, the regime should be further liberalized and things of that. So the point is that the people of the two countries, their interests have to be taken into account, and through that, people, both the countries should see their mutuality of interests. So on behalf of the FCC, as I said, these are excellent points, highly enriching points that were made. We are grateful to each and every one of the participants here, and as we always make it a point, not only whatever was discussed here or whatever was said that has gone live all over the world, and then more importantly, we do preserve in the FCC a rich archive of every event that we organize here. So in that sense, I think today's participants have enriched the FCC intellectually for a long time to come, and for that, again, I am extending our gratefulness to each and every one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.
Thank you all. Thank you. Good night. Good night.